Tesla is one of the most interesting stocks in the world right now, but it is also one of the most dangerous ones. When this greed and FOMO party is over, a lot of people will suffer from despair. Fortunes will be lost and newly rich stock novices will wonder what reality train just hit them. For the rest of us, we might be in for the grandest shorting opportunity of a lifetime. I actually expected this one to win, not because I care particularly much about it per se, but because it seems to be on everybody's lips these days. Regardless of what, I'm still excited to make a proper analysis on Tesla, as it is an extreme stock to put it mildly. But before diving into it, not financial advice, I'm a full-blown fucking idiot, so do make sure you do your own research prior to any investments. I am not responsible for your decisions. And of course, if you appreciate this episode, and smash that like button until you get bruises and subscribe while you're at it so you'll never miss out again on awesome. Now, when a massive company runs into a PE ratio of nearly 1300, then you know things are getting dangerous for real. Tesla might be the crypto boom equivalent of 2020. All over the internet, all you hear about is Tesla, Tesla, Tesla. And what those people have in common is that they are mostly novices. It's got amateur hour written all over it. Just like your average Uber driver of 2017 was in fact an undercover crypto millionaire trader.
This isn't my real job, you know.
They just happen to drive people around at 3 AM, you know, for the fun of it. And where are they now? Well, they're still driving around in their cars, and absolutely nothing wrong with that, but I now see those very same tendencies and warning signs in Tesla. For in Tesla, everyone's rich on paper.
What is this? What is this? Where's all the money?
That's as good as money, sir. Those are IOUs.
For few people seem to actually sell. Everyone just keeps on refilling the gift that never stops giving. And according to the Tesla fanatics, the stock must now go to $7,000 for this and that reason, and probably by next month. And if you oppose that, then you are a backstriding dinosaur and a pessimist who doesn't understand the times we live in. For it is different this time, and Tesla is the new paradigm that will change the world. But here's the thing, I've been around for long enough to have seen this type of uneducated nonsense talk in more than one bubble now. The talk is always the same, and they always end up in the same way. So mark my words, for this could turn prophetic. And if I'm wrong, it will turn pathetic.
Oh, love me. Pathetic.
The overwhelming majority of the Tesla community will at some point in a not too distant future lose all of their profits and more. And by more I mean they will be bankrupted, as they will never sell but rather keep on buying every single dip until it ultimately doesn't turn upwards again. Or at least not in a long time. In each craze, there is always one equity that stands out. In this stocks craze, Tesla seems to be the leader of the pack, and Mr. Musk himself even publicly declared that the Tesla stock is overvalued, and that was at much lower prices than those of today. Now, don't get me wrong, for I'm sure it's a great company per se. What I'm saying is that it is grossly overvalued, and that you can tell how fragile it is from looking at the charts. Still, I have a feeling I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this analysis, but that's fine, and that's because one too many market participants are idealists rather than realists, especially novices that tend to crowd to certain hypes. Now, do what you want with the information in this episode, but whomever watches this can never justly claim they were not warned, for Tesla is dangerous, period. Listen carefully, for I'm not here to give sunshine reports in order to keep snowflakes at a comfortable temperature. I'm here to lay it out straight, and I'm here to make money. And in Tesla there will certainly be opportunities in the latter. big time opportunities. First of all, Tesla's run is nothing but remarkable. Since its IPO in 2010, the stock has gone up by 21,000% at most. And despite my long introduction rant, the 1700% move since May 2019 does make technical sense. For 6 years straight, the stock hovered around in a sideways price range in which it moved back and forth between its bottom at $36 and its top at $77. What happens in those is that a lot of technical pressure builds up, and that pressure eventually needs to go somewhere. There are psychological reasons why this occurs, but we'll save those for a separate episode in which we can lay them out in full. It's quite interesting, really. Now, despite the fact that this blow-up release of attention move was an unexpected one, it doesn't change anything of what I've talked about. For Tesla in its current state is a prime example of a blow-off top. This is how markets die. This is that parabolic move we keep talking about over and over again. But these parabolic moves are not based on fundamentals and solids. They are based on emotions, on fear of missing out on the rare money printing opportunity, and on greed. For if you made 1 million already, who says you can't make another one? The problem with these parabolic moves is that it is very difficult to predict a final target beforehand. There are strategies, but we're not gonna go into them now because Tesla is much too driven on emotions. All we can do now is to try to identify once a potential top has occurred. Let's now look at the technical weakness and how this in fact can play out to our advantage. First of all, we have a long RSI divergence on the weekly, at which the first peak was at the ridiculously stupidly high level of 94. This emerging RSI divergence on its own is a big dark cloud. For bear in mind that a 2-point divergence is fairly weak. No, the impact from a divergence gets increasingly stronger the longer it is, as in the more points it is built up by. In that sense, the more extensive an RSI divergence is, especially on the higher time frames, such as the weekly and monthly chart, the more violent, substantial, devastating, and long-lasting the ultimate rubber band effect will be. And we already have a strong build-up for one hell of a down move. And technically speaking, from this little mini market cycle starting from May 2019, I would not be surprised at all if we were to see a wave 4 correction followed by a 5th wave. And here's where things get truly beautiful, for things could much likely come down as following, which in turn would be a textbook short. The biggest shorting opportunity you will likely ever come across. This would play out as follows. The 4th wave would retest the EMA 50 on the weekly for a temporary 50% decline or so. This in turn would bring the RSI down with it strongly, roughly to the green 50 area. Upon the final price leg up, the RSI in turn will struggle to break above the upper bearish blue line. And a clear touch on this would be everything I want from Santa for the rest of my life. Now, I'm not saying this will play out. I'm saying that if it were to, then we are in for the short of a lifetime. And I'm not exaggerating here. It would amount to a huge risk to reward short that can turn cents into dollars and coal into diamonds in a very short time. If this part about the RSI sounds like Greek to you, then I strongly propose you watch the RSI trilogy in full. It will then make perfect sense and you will be equipped with the most valuable indicator tool you will ever come across. This is my gift to you. Now, the fact that Tesla hasn't gone through the traditional market cycles, it has historically provided us with multiple lower bullish red buy signals and upper bearish blue sell or short signals. However, do beware that those lines are still tentative until confirmed by at least 2 full market cycles, as in 2 accumulation phases and 2 distribution phases. In this sense, trader discretion is of paramount importance if you were to take a short. And when shorting, you may need to turn those tentative lines into minor zones, or at least give some extra leeway for what's deemed a clear touch. And on a final note, there is a good chance we will not be given any distributional short signals, as in a clear upper bearish blue touch from below. But if we do, I will praise my maker for that very generous gift of his, one which we can all utilize with high leverage. And to wrap it all up, Tesla from now on is going to be interesting. Very, very interesting. And to those of you who go long in Tesla, be careful, you are playing with fire. And to those of you who are going short, make sure you do your due diligence properly. That was all for now. Thank you and goodbye.